Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Украшение.
Of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Speaking of all over the place, in that interview with the New York Times, President Trump also touched on the now infamous email chain his son Don Jr. released a few weeks ago. When first asked about the emails, Trump replied, quote, "Well, I never saw the email. I never saw the email until, you know." Then later in the interview, the president was asked what he thought of them after he saw them, and he stated, "Well, I thought originally it might have something to do with the payment by Russia of the DNC. Somewhere I heard that, like it was an illegal act done by the DNC or the Democrats. That's what I had heard. Now I don't know where I heard it, but I had heard that it had something to do with illegal acts with respect to the DNC." When asked if the email chain concerned him, that the Russian government was attempting to compromise the U.S. election, Trump replied, "I didn't look into it very closely, to be honest with you. I just heard there was an email requesting a meeting or something. Requesting a meeting that they have information on Hillary Clinton. And I said, I mean, this was standard political stuff." When asked if he knew at the time that they had the meeting, Trump replied, "No, I didn't know anything about the meeting." The Times then pressed Trump, reminding him of the speech he gave about Hillary Clinton's corrupt dealings with Russia just 3 hours after the Don Jr. meeting. Trump replied that he routinely made speeches hitting Clinton on this issue and even referenced the book Clinton Cash that had come out earlier in the year. The president also noted, quote, "There wasn't much I could say about Hillary Clinton that was worse than what I was already saying." He also added, quote, "Unless somebody said that she shot somebody in the back, there wasn't much I could add to my repertoire." Joe? I mean, I don't even know what to say. This is the President of the United States.
What do you say about that rambling stream of consciousness? It's like William Faulkner on acid.
Украшение.
That, here, everybody get used to this one.
Украшение.
That's schmuck in Russian. Look,
Украшение.
we do the research for you so you don't have to. But that's what Trump did. He made a complete schmuck out of himself. You know, I mean, he's sitting there, he's saying, "Oh, you know, I saw the email." He saw the email that was putting together this crazy meeting with the eighth man, with the GRU intelligence officer, with Veselnitskaya, with Eamon's family's representative, Mr. Akhmetshin, who is a money launderer, and his expertise is in, campaign and propaganda disinformation. I mean, so he said, "Well, I didn't really look into it that much." You schmuck. Schmuck just admitted that he said, "I heard about it. I heard about the meeting," which goes back to something that was just said as an aside the other day. Maggie Haberman, the same reporter, there's 3 reporters on this New York Times interview. They all did a spectacular job interviewing him, I have to say, because he just rambled. He just told him, and it's funny. It's the failing New York Times that he goes to when he wants to incriminate himself. I don't even understand his choices, because, this man is like, well, you know what today is? Today is his 6-month anniversary as the president of the United States. Yes, today is 6 months, and so much is going on that nobody's going to even stop to acknowledge. I won't say celebrate, but nobody's going to. So how is he doing at 6 months? How's anybody doing at 6 months? You have a 6-month-old, Mednick? Can't communicate effectively, hasn't accomplished anything yet, and just craps himself constantly. This is what we have as a president. And this was oral diarrhea. This entire New York Times interview was oral diarrhea. The only difference between Donald Trump and Scotty Mednick's actual 6-month-old is that most infants would have filled a lot more federal job openings by now. Honestly, this is unbelievable. And nobody has time to even acknowledge it's the 6-month mark. It's the 20th of the July because there's so much going on. The man gives an interview to the failing New York Times and just admits that he saw the emails. He knew that there was going to be a meeting. He didn't look into it very much because he said, and this is another incriminating thing. He said, because, I had enough incriminating information on Hillary. So he knew that the Russian government was offering incriminating information on Hillary because he looked at the emails. Oh, my God.
Украшение.
Ugh. What a schmuck. So last night, like every lawyer that we have on the planet showed up on the TV. Just about every lawyer that, we know, including... the former. Remember, we asked when Bill Browder. No, who was it that was on? When Richard Painter. Oh, my lovely Richard Painter, the ethics, the guy who served in the Bush ethics office. He was the ethics counselor to the president. He didn't serve in the Office of Government Ethics. That's a separate office. And then you should know, DOJ has an ethics office. So all of our agencies have ethics officers in them, and entire departments really, that look at whether or not this agency is complying with standard rules and laws of ethics. So Richard Painter was the ethics counselor to President Bush, which, is an oxymoron if you ask me, and he only did 2 years is what he did. It's like, he got paroled, like OJ. Did you see that today? OJ's paroled, everybody. It's the end of our long national nightmare that started in 1995. It only took, how many years? 21 years to settle the OJ. But I asked Richard Painter when he was on the show. Remember, I said to him, do you know Walter Schaub Jr.? And he said, yeah, he did a spectacular job. He runs the Office of Government Ethics. And I said, well, he just resigned. And he said, I know he did. And so he said, that he was due to leave in 6 months anyway, but he did it early to make a statement. So he was on the TV last night. I mean, these are the people you want to interview. These are the people whose opinions matter when you're talking about ethical violation. We're not even down to the law yet. Wait till the lawyers talk. Here's just the ethical aspect of, whether or not Jeff Sessions needed to recuse himself, because, that's another thing the president did in this article. Not only did he admit that he knew the meeting was scheduled and that he saw this chain of emails, which means either Don Jr. showed it to him on his phone or forwarded it to him. So now his emails are going to be subpoenaed. I mean, it's just Mueller's going to get wait till I tell you what I think. What I know Mueller's asking for. What he's received yet, I don't know, but we'll get there. Okay, so Trump is bitching to Maggie Haberman that if he would have known that Jeff Sessions was going to take the job only to recuse himself, he wouldn't have hired him. And that, he has no confidence in him. Why did he do it? Here.
Sessions gets the job. Right after he gets the job, he recuses himself.
Was that a mistake?
Well, Sessions should have never recused himself. And if he was going to recuse himself, he should have told me before he took the job, and I would have picked somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
He gave you no heads up at all in any sense?
Zero.
Okay.
So Jeff Sessions takes the job, gets into the job, recuses himself. I then have, which frankly, I think is very unfair to the president. How do you take a job and then recuse yourself? If he would have recused himself before the job, I would have said, thanks, Jeff, but I can't, I'm not going to take you. It's extremely unfair, and that's a mild word, to the president. So he recuses himself. I then end up with a second man who's a deputy.
So he, in that 1 minute clip, he has trashed his attorney general and his deputy attorney general, Rod Rosenstein, who he picked. He picked both these people. Now, when he says that Sessions shouldn't have recused himself, what the president, who talks about himself in the third person, which I find extremely creepy, is saying is I put Sessions there to stop any and all investigations at the Department of Justice. That's why I made him Attorney General. That's incriminating in and of itself. So here is the former Office of Government Ethics Chief Walter Schaub talking last night on MSNBC.
That's an absolutely outrageous statement for the president to have made. Before I answer that question, I want to make clear I have no information about any investigations that are or are not going on or what their scope are. But the Office of Government Ethics works very closely with agency ethics officials. We've got 70 people at OGE, 4,500 agency ethics officials we coordinate with throughout the entire executive branch. DOJ has mentioned that Rod Rosenstein was getting advice from an agency ethics official at DOJ regarding this recusal. I, in my office, called DOJ and said, we don't know what investigations are going on. We don't need to know. We don't want to know. But if there's any chance that there's an investigation going on, that he is a member of the class of persons who could potentially be interviewed in connection with that investigation, who might be a target of that investigation, he must recuse.
Talking about Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
That's right.
He must recuse himself.
So I need to defend Attorney General Sessions here because he did the right thing. We told DOJ, if there's any chance that he's part of the class of persons being looked at in this investigation, he must recuse. And DOJ has an excellent ethics office, and they did the right thing and took prophylactic measures to make sure he wouldn't be involved. This is what we do across the executive branch. This is how we're the prevention mechanism. So when I resign and when I'm telling the world that we've got a problem with our ethics program, OGE is the canary in the coal mine with this departure from ethical norms. And it starts with a little thing like the president not divesting his financial interests, which sets a tone from the top that goes cascading down through the executive branch. And you wind up in a place where you have a president criticizing a law enforcement official for doing the right thing and staying out of an investigation in which he may or may not be a target, but because there's any potential at all, they're going to err on the side of being cautious.
Also, the Office of Government Ethics is like the giant, government condom. He said prophylactic. Opened up the whole, IUD experience for me. Opened up the whole condom experience. Just so many things, went through my mind. Whether or not Trump is sponge-worthy. Okay. The answer is no. But here's the thing. Jeff Sessions recusing himself is probably the only thing that Jeff Sessions has ever done right. And that is, of course, what got him in trouble with Trump. Right? In any case, this is what
Украшение.
that Trump is, because there is no reason for Trump to pressure Sessions to resign, because it will soon become very, very clear that Jeff Sessions lied under oath to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and in his testimony, when he volunteered. Al Franken never even asked him, but he just volunteered to Senator Al. I didn't have any, interactions with the Russian. I never met any Russian. I don't know. I've been called a surrogate a time or two, and I've never had any, interaction with the Russian. That was perjury, okay? And so, once they actually level a charge of perjury against Jeff Sessions, then Trump will probably rally around him and defend him. You see where this is going? But, I mean, this craziness about how Jeff Sessions should never have recused himself because I specifically put him there to quash any investigation into the Trump administration incoming, because we knew we did a lot of dirty stuff. And I have never released my tax reforms because I did a lot of dirty stuff. And I did not denounce even knowing Felix Sater. I denounced knowing any of these Russian creeps. I denounced knowing Putin, even though prior to running, he met Putin. He loved Putin. He was a tough guy. He was a strong guy. He told it to David Letterman. He told it to us. He told it to the whole world. And of all the people he has criticized, from our NATO allies to our, friends in Europe, where he just loves Putin. Always has. Always will. Go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.